Welcome to Robotics 1. In this class, we are going to talk about robot modeling, dynamics, control. My name is Sangram Redkar. I'm an associate professor and the chair of Robotics and Autonomous Systems program at Arizona State University. If you are taking this course as a graduate student, please understand I'm the one who reviewed your application and admitted you essentially. So it's my responsibility to help you get successful through the class and the course. And you're welcome to stop me, ask me any questions you may have, and I would be happy to explain the concepts again and detailed to you. My office hours would be after the class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I teach two classes back to back. The first class is robotics. Second class is the linear algebra. The class gets over at 7:15, but then I would be in my office till maybe 8:30 or 9 o'clock to answer any questions you may have. Or you can send me an email and I would be more than happy to meet with you in person or via Zoom. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how this course is structured. And there is a lot of interesting stuff going on. There is a project, and it's a group project. So I will also tell you about something about the project. And then maybe what we can do is we can give you a tour of the robotics labs we have at the Poly campus, and also the phenomenal resources that we have for you to work on your projects. And this is an exciting time for robotics. So there is a lot of material in this class. So what I would tell you is I will not only first let me discuss the class, then I will tell you what the expectations are, and then how to succeed in that course. When I say succeed means how do you get an A and learn all the material that would potentially be used for the future classes, or if you decide to go in industry. Now, I just want to tell you one thing up in advance. This class is supposed to be a 1 hour, 15 minutes class. But in my experience, typically when we have this type of a hybrid environment, where some students are online, some students are in person, typically the instruction is usually for 1 hour, because there could be the glitches with the Zoom, or the online students may not understand, or there is a lag. So based on, I have taught many classes using this modality. So please be mindful of that, it may so happen that even though we come here at 4:30, it will take 5 to 10 minutes, depending upon the issues in the system, to get things set up and class to start. But since it's an online class along with in-person class, so the course delivery kind of slows down. So, but not to miss out on the material, I have already created the video lectures for the entire course. Those video lectures are uploaded along with the PowerPoint slides. All the assignments I have already created, and all the assignments will be posted by this weekend on Canvas. So you will understand what is expected. You can manage your time wisely, and then make sure that you can focus enough time to complete the assignments. For in-person students, when I'm talking to you, this is what I observed. I cannot see the comments. First of all, I'm not wearing glasses, and second of all, I don't have eyes in my back. So if you see a comment pertaining to the material, please stop me and point out that someone from online has raised a hand or asked a question. so that I will make sure that that question is answered before we go on. This class is going to have a lot of interesting content, which means I'm going to use iPad as a whiteboard, wherein I would explain stuff on the iPad. So you will have a blank slide where I would explain the material. Then what I would do is I would switch to my computer where we would run some MATLAB simulations, Simulink simulations, or create code, or maybe run or develop or solve problems in MATLAB. So what I would strongly recommend is, if you have a laptop, not required, but if you have a laptop, please bring it to the class. And as I work through the problem, like I'm going to solve kinematics problems, I'm going to solve dynamics problems, I'm going to solve control problems, and I'm going to solve them step by step. So as I do it, make sure that you follow my lead. And what I'm going to do for online students, as I type in the MATLAB or in the command prompt, I would be copying and pasting those command lines onto the chat window. So you can actually cut, copy, and paste inside your MATLAB so that you will have a working code. But this is super duper important. Otherwise, the feedback that I have received from the past students is, as soon as we jump on to solving problems with MATLAB, the course becomes super intense. It is not supposed to be that way, but it's not a spectator sport. You cannot learn how to swim by watching YouTube videos. You need to get into the water. So when I'm working on the problem, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna type the command line, or I'm gonna use some template, and then I'm gonna make changes. Please bring your laptops with you with MATLAB installed and do those exercises with me, so you'll be fine. I would like to take this moment to tell you that Jesslyn Samuel, she is my PhD student sitting in the back. She is going to be your grader. So if you have any questions related to your grade, you are welcome to reach out to her, and she will help you with grade related issues. Is Borna here? Okay, so Borna is my under student who took this class, and he will be helping you out with the project. Because my understanding is some of you may have had some 3D printing experience, some of you may not have. Some of you may have access to 3D printer, some of you may not have access to 3D printer. But we have resources that will allow you to 3D print, CAD, design, or build some robots, or solder some PCBs, make PCBs. So project related stuff, Borna is going to help you. And he's going to email you his office hours. So what you can do is you can send him an email with the help related to project. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the resources that you have available to learn this class. So if you have not done so, my recommendation to you is, please visit Canvas website. So I want you to go to Canvas and click on the robotic systems class. When you see the robotic systems class, you will first and foremost see the syllabus. The syllabus is in the doc format, also pasted in the Canvas. So my information, my phone number, office hours, this is where my office is. Yeah.
There's two available, Professor. There's one that says Fall E and then Fall X.
Fall E and Fall X. I think you should click on just one of. I think there was an issue with Canvas, so it created two shells. Yeah. But you should just click onto any shell. That should be fine.
Okay, either one.
Either one is fine. So I would ask you, if you have access to your computers and laptops, please go to Canvas and make sure you have access to Canvas, because all the assignments will be uploaded back on Canvas. All the email communication and everything will be done through Canvas. So online students, so please open Canvas shell. Now the textbook for this class is Introduction to Robotics, Analysis and Controls, Applications by Professor Niku. Third edition is the book that is recommended, but as far as the course is concerned, the material is similar to the first and second edition. So if you can get an older edition, probably cheaply on Amazon or Thrift Books or some other website, you are welcome to use it. And I believe in sort of schedule. So I will talk about the schedule as well. So the objective of this class is we understand kinematics, dynamics, and controls of robots. We primarily use MATLAB as our tool of choice for multiple reasons. There is a robotics toolbox available in MATLAB, and there are lots and lots of resources that are available in MATLAB that we can use. I understand that you may or may not be familiar with MATLAB, may or may not be an expert in MATLAB, but so don't worry. The very first assignment is will teach you MATLAB from scratch. So how do you succeed in this course? Attend all face-to-face classroom sessions or iCourse sessions. Finish pre-class preparation. I would strongly recommend you to form study groups in case if you need to consult with your teammates. Then I want to talk about the grading scheme. So the grade, as you can see, A, B, C, D, and E. There are assignments. There is no exam, no final exam, no midterm. There are only assignments. And all the assignments are take home. Some assignments you can work in the group. Some assignments are individual. So it will be mentioned on the assignment whether you can work on problems in the groups or you have to work alone. So please do the assignments. There is going to be a project and I'm working on the project. So I'm gonna assign or I'm gonna come up with a couple of 2 or 3, you have a question? 2 or 3 projects and I will discuss those next week and I will post those on Canvas. There will be one project wherein you have to build a robot with your own hand and program the robot. There will be another project wherein it will be mostly software simulations, because I totally understand that some students may not feel comfortable coming to the lab, working in the groups of 2 to 3 students and building the robot. So you can opt out of that project, but do purely software related project where you design the robot inside the software like a Gazebo or VREF or MATLAB, and then implement the dynamics and control algorithms or AR-based algorithms. There will be this class has an undergraduate and a graduate section. So my recommendation to you is when you assign the projects, try to find if you are going to work on a group project, try to find a group wherein everyone has something to contribute to the project, which means when you form the group, so make sure that you have someone with programming background, someone with CAD background. You have a student who has some 3D printing background or familiar with, or you have some expertise who knows how to solder, a student expertise in soldering, PCB design. So make sure that you have expertise to build that robot as a team, because it's going to be 40% of your grade. You would be also given a detailed rubric for the project, wherein it's not like 40 or 0. You would be given timeline for the task that you need to accomplish, and then what is expected for each task. So you can time yourself properly and work on the project. So those projects will be presented to you next week, and then you can choose the project that you want to work on. I get asked question, can we pick up our own projects? I tell you the danger in picking your own projects, because if you want to build a robot, we are going to purchase the parts to build the most expensive parts, like the stepper motors, the motor controllers, the linear rail, then the webcam, then the shield, motor control shield, microcontroller, Arduino, Raspberry Pi. So we will provide you with one set of parts that you can use to build the robot. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. If you decide to do your own project, it's possible, as long as it's as rigorous as the project that we have in the class, but you will be responsible for purchasing parts, building the stuff, making sure it works. So it's more risky. However, for some students who already have a robotics related project, or who have found already an advisor and who is willing to support you for this project, I'm willing to consider your proposed project as long as it is approved by your advisor, and your advisor is willing to pay for it and make sure that the project is completed on time. Because you will, so please understand, for some reason, if you are not successful in this project, this is a big risk. If you decide to do your own project, if you are not become successful in this project, you are guaranteed to fail this course. Question? Someone asked. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to see. Somebody has question. Somebody raise hand. Let me see. So this is the perfect time. Borna is here. He is going to be responsible for helping you with the project. Did someone raise a hand?
Someone did raise a hand, but I guess they just.
Okay. All right. Yes, the project in this. Oh, okay. This depends upon your concentration. But in general, the project that you do in this class can be accepted as one of the projects for your portfolio. But if you want to be adventurous, and I just want to give an idea, because I know you are here to learn. If you want to be adventurous, you can start working on the project in Robotics 1 and then make it into your applied project or thesis. For example, I just want to give you some ideas. So one idea is we are going to build a SCARA robot arm with a webcam. So the idea is the robot will be capable of doing pick and place operation. And when robot is doing pick and place operation, that is the primary project for you. But if you want to enhance that project, and that my student did in the past, you can make that robot into a tic-tac-toe playing robot. So basically the robot that can play tic-tac-toe with a human. Or what you can do is you can have that robot work as a collaborative robot. That's also my student has done in the past. So we built the robot in Robotics 1 class, and what he did, he added, so for example, if a human draws a rectangle, then the robot would finish the rectangle. Or if the human tries to draw a part of the alphabet, then the robot recognizes that human is trying to draw B, but the robot completes the remaining part of B. Or human, basically you add some sort of sensors or just use webcam. Human puts an object and the robot holds the object, and as human moves, robot moves the object with the human. So it is the collaboration. So you are welcome to start with the base project in robotics 1, and then you are welcome to add AI to it. You are welcome to add part signal reconstruction to it, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of ideas. Yes. So I think I addressed that question. Yes, for RAS AI grad student, this project can be accepted as a portfolio project. The next thing which I want to tell you is I'm going to invite professors who work in the area of robotics at Poly and as well as Tempe from next week onwards. And what they will do is they will give you a 15-minute talk in the beginning of the class related to their research. So they will give a brief talk for 10 minutes, 5 minutes for wrap up and question and answer. And the reason for that is if any of their research areas resonates with what you want to do, then you are welcome to reach out to them and take this opportunity to introduce yourself and maybe work in their lab, get some experience. So we are going to have that type of interaction beginning next week. So once a week for 10 minutes, a faculty would come, hopefully at 4:30, and then he or she will present the research for 10 minutes, and then you can follow up with that person. You can have his or her contact information and follow up with that person later if you want to work in the lab. And Borna can give you the tour of the robotics lab in the tech center and also our 3D printing facilities, innovation hub. As a student at Poly campus, you have access to all the 3D printing facilities and all the labs at Poly campus. Any questions? Yes.
Can you also use resources from Tempe campus?
You can what?
Use 3D printers and other resources in Tempe campus?
Yes, but typically, if you use the Poly resources, either they are free or they are at cost. So for an example, my understanding is if you decide to 3D print parts for your robot, most likely you have to buy the filament and get it done. But if you try to get 3D printing done at other places, there is a small but non-zero chance that you may get charged. I mean, if you want, you're welcome to send out 3D printing parts to outside vendor. They will 3D print and send it to you, but that's going to be more expensive and it's not fun because you want to gain understanding of how to 3D print. Some parts are going to fail, then you have to kind of reiterate. So once next week, I will talk about the project. I will show you what the steps are, and then you can decide the projects that you want to work on. And then you would give us the names of your team, and Borna is responsible for making sure that you see the parts. Because of the cost constraints, we can only provide you with one set. So but stepper motors are expensive, controller boards are expensive. So we'll give you one set. For some reason that is broken, that can happen. If we have spare parts, we can give you spare parts. But if you don't have a spare part or replacement part, you have to purchase it from Amazon. Yeah.
Will you have a part source available so that if we decide that we want to source it ourselves? So we could...
Absolutely, part list is available. The robot typically would cost, the total robot would cost about $100 to $150. So assuming that you have 3 or 4 students working, it would be $50 per person to spend. But we understand some students don't want to do it. If you purchase the parts, build the robot, it's yours to keep. You can put it on YouTube, you can make videos, or you can show it to your parents, friends, families. But if you build the robot with the parts that we give you at the end of the semester, after your presentation is done, you will present it and you'll be graded. So you will have to unfortunately break the robot down and give us the most expensive parts like stepper motors, motor controllers, webcam, so that they can be reused next year. At that time, you have an option. If you like the project and you say, I love what I have built and I want to keep it, that's totally cool. Just buy the parts and give us the one set of parts so that we can give it to the students next year. Again, if you are not interested in doing some hands-on work, and if you want to just focus on software simulations, building the robot in the software, not comfortable working in the groups because of this pandemic situation, that's cool as well. Now, next thing that I want to tell you is if you go down, there is information about the lesson plan. All the lessons are already pre-recorded and ready for you to watch. So if you are like self-learner, hey, I don't want to go to class, I can't learn a thing, I don't understand what Redcard says. So you are welcome to watch these video lectures. They are pretty much going to cover the content that I'm going to discuss in class. But what I'm going to do is every year I work on different problems. Even though the theory is the same, the robot configurations that I work out, the problems that I solve, they are different. So that when you study, you have lots of problems to review. So basically, you can see the problem from last year would be different from problems we work out this year. So that way, you will have exposure to a lot of stuff. The other thing that I would strongly recommend, if you have time, watch the video lecture or the PowerPoint slides before coming to class. So that way you know what is going to be discussed. The course lecture is very well backed with the textbook chapter by section by section. So if you have any question related to the material, where is this? The textbook, you know where to go and find that material. The problem may or may not be from textbook, but I would actually give you the problems and the robot configurations and pictures in the assignments. That way you can just look at the assignments and start working on problems. So typically, I have noticed from my past experiences, I have been teaching this class many times. So usually I get about 27 to 28 sessions in the fall semester. So contact, we actually get to meet 28 to 27 to 28 times. There is somewhere Thanksgiving break, there is some holiday somewhere, and we lose out 1 or 2 days. So all the material is already posted. So please feel free to explore this information. This all is for you. Next thing is assignments. Assignments for the entire class will be uploaded by this weekend. So once I finalize the project, I come up with the timeline, everything will be posted. The assignments are going to be easy. So, but it will take some time for you to do it and learn the material. As a matter of fact, this is the very first assignment that is due on August 31st. The assignment will tell you when it is due. It will tell you the number of points. And if you look at your student view, so if you click on your student view, you will see that you have an option to start the assignment, and then you can upload what that assignment is asking you for. So the very first assignment, some of you are going to get bored, but I have to do it. First, you have to download and install MATLAB. MATLAB is available to you free of charge. You can install that on your personal machines by going to myapps.asu.edu. You have to log in to MathWorks, create an account, and then I want you, and you may hate me for this, but I want you to complete MATLAB fundamental course. Typically, if you don't have any background with MATLAB, it will take 25 hours. If you know MATLAB, then you can skip through the PowerPoint presentations or video webinars, but do the assignments. Usually, last time I did it, it took me about 2 to 3 hours to finish the entire course. After this course, there is MATLAB programming technique. Even if you may know that, hey, I'm MATLAB guru, but please understand, MATLAB is evolving every iteration. So there are tricks and ways to make your program better. So this MATLAB programming technique, this is a 16-hour class. Again, these classes are free. They are included with our ASU subscription of MATLAB. So you don't have to pay anything. And at the end of the course, you'll get a very nice, beautifully signed certificate that you can add to your LinkedIn account. Then solving ordinary differential equations. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. I have seen my students adding MATLAB 35, MATLAB 34, and I would add some courses on deep learning and AI as well. So basically, that would be your exposure. Then next thing is MATLAB for data processing and visualization. So this would be your very first assignment that is due by August 31st. And the reason for that is we start September. We are going to do a lot of work in MATLAB, and EGR 445 students, they come to us with EGR 219 background. And many a times we have forgotten the material that we learned in EGR 219. So this is a good refresher. Many of the students who come to us from overseas may not have personal access to MATLAB. So it's a different experience to have a copy of MATLAB on your own machine, so that you not only get to play with it, but explore other tools that MATLAB is able to provide. You have full license of MATLAB, so install everything. The problem there is it will take about 5 gigs or 6 gigs of space. So make sure that your machine has that space, or you can buy a cheaper external hard drive and then have MATLAB installed on that hard drive. But the registry would be. So make sure that the MATLAB is installed and ready to go. If you don't have laptop, MATLAB is available to all on all ASU machines. So you are welcome to install MATLAB. I mean, you can welcome to install or use the machines. But then you have to save the endpoints in your personal account. Any question about the very first assignment? Yes.
So on average, we need to spend about 5 hours to complete the assignment.
It depends upon you. Some students may need more than that.
Yeah.
Or some students may just read through the MATLAB. I don't know. It's up to you. But unless you finish the whole thing, you are not going to get that certificate. So, anything else? Okay. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I want you to go to modules. And let me see, there is a collected. Okay, to answer the question, some of these courses are not on ramp. They are full courses. There is no on ramp. It's a level road. So you can upload that certificate, but that won't be acceptable to what this course is. Because the courses that I have showed you, they are not on-ramp courses. They are full MATLAB courses. I have done on-ramp classes, on-ramp courses. Please understand, on-ramp courses, they are a short version of these the original classes. So some important information gets missed. So any other question? So here are the video lectures, lecture 1, lecture 2, lecture 3, all the way to 27 lectures. In addition to that, the MATLAB scripts that we will be, actually I worked on during the last class, and Borna took my class, so you can ask him questions. He may or may not answer, but worth a try. Afterwards, then we will actually build a cardboard robotic arm. And the reason I want you to build this cardboard robotic arm, because it's fun, and you can do forward and inverse kinematics, verify the forward and inverse kinematics of this simple robot arm very, very quickly. So this is coming. So typically you can buy supplies like syringe and cardboard, and then maybe some tubes on Amazon or some hobby store or at Walmart for $5 to $6. But if you like doing this cardboard robot arm, I would encourage you to explore foldable robotics class, wherein what we do, that is taught by Professor Ux, wherein what you do is you build origami based robots. So that will give you some exposure. So this is how the overall course is structured, and I'm going to start discussing the material. But before I do that, I want to ask my online students if there are any questions from online students. You can use the chat window, or you can just raise your hand and I would unmute you so that you can ask questions. How will the groups be formed? It's up to you. So you are welcome to find team members. But I strongly recommend undergraduate students partner with undergraduate students, graduate students partner with graduate students, because the graduate students will have one more task in the project. So this would be my recommendation. So undergraduate students work with undergraduates, graduate students work with graduates. Any other question? No question? No question. What kind of programming will be involved in this? So I only know MATLAB, so I'm going to use MATLAB. But somebody wants to use Julia, I'm totally fine with it. I can point you to resources. Julia is a new programming, open source programming language. If you want to use Python, I'm cool with it. If you want to use C, C++, that's fine too. But if you get stuck in MATLAB, I can help you. If you get stuck in Python, I won't be able to. If you get stuck in Julia, I don't know a thing about it. And about embedded system programming, I know Arduino, so I'm going to use Arduino. I'm going to give you Arduino microcontroller for implementation, because then I can tell you that do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Take this code, flash onto Arduino, and it will work. And then I'm going to give you tools to do an Android app, wherein you can use MIT Android Studio and create an app and flash it onto your Android phone or onto computer to make sure that the system is working. So typically you will have a robot aspect to the project, and then maybe user interface with building an Android app. But if someone says, I want to build an iOS app, that's fine. You can actually, if you are supposed to be interested in iOS platform, you know more about it, you can use iOS to build your app. I'm just gonna use, there is something else which you, right now, I don't know if you know this, but you can create an app inside the MATLAB and port it into an Android Studio and then flash it onto an Android device. I have not done it, but there are excellent webinars on how to do it. So if you wanna go that route, I'm fine with it. But I'm gonna show you the path that I have taken and I know it works. But you are welcome to explore. But if you get stuck, unfortunately, I won't be able to help you. That is the only thing. So the robot project will have building the robot, creating an app, and doing something so that that robot can behave smartly. Yes,
How many projects total?
just one project.
Okay, that's the one that you mentioned where we have to give the parts back at the end, but then we talked about the arm of the cardboard.
Yeah, so that project is yours. It's a very simple project. So
Okay.
basically, that project will be part of an assignment. When we do forward and inverse kinematics, doing forward and inverse kinematics of robot just on a piece of paper is good, but to see that actually is working is something else. So that would be a small assignment. I shouldn't call it a project, part of the assignment.
Second question, on the book, and this is just an honest question, could we get away with the material that you've already provided to us? Or would you recommend that we definitely get the book?
To be honest with you, I think in the past, students were just okay with the material that I discussed in the class.
Okay. It's not cheap, so that's not-
No, I can get it cheap. The older edition is very, very cheap, the first or
really?
second edition.
Okay.
But, and I think you can decide that by yourself. So you can take one or two classes and see what the way I teach. If you understand everything that is being discussed.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, all the assignments are gonna be uploaded anyway. So you can see if you can solve the assignments with the information that is given to you in the class.
Right.
Or information that you can get from online or additional some resources, then you don't need the book. But you can use some other book.
Right.
But if you think that there's a disconnect, I'm not understanding something, you're always welcome to ask me questions, come see me during my office hours. I will try to help you out. If some students like to have a book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if we are ready to invest in a project of for ourselves, and we want to do our own project, is there any kind of restriction for the project we do?
yes, the most important restriction is you need an advisor. And the reason for that is basically, I don't want you to be hanging. I don't want you to fail this course. So if you want, so here's the thing. Say you are a PhD student and you are working with a professor at Tempe or at the Poly. You already have a project. And then your project is supported by NSF or DOD or some other, and your professor is willing to invest in that project. So he says, I got $1 million, buy whatever you want, do the project and build this robot made up of gold. I'm totally okay with it. You can give it to me at the end of the project. I'll be happy to take it. But it needs to be validated by your advisor. The reason I tell you this, because if something happens and if you don't finish the project, then I don't want you to fail this course. Let me make this absolutely clear. If you are in robotics and autonomous systems program, this is a core course. You cannot fail this class. Is this understood?
Yeah.
Second thing, some of you are admitted conditionally, and I know who they are. If you fail this class, you are out of the program. There is no easy way to say it. So I'm going to be upfront about it. Failure is not an option. So please don't be adventurous. Follow my lead, follow my direction, and I will help you succeed in this course and your career. Everyone understood this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So the advisor that you're talking about is the academic advisor.
No, a professor who is willing to supervise your project or thesis. But there are a lot of risks. Many times you start working in the lab and you figure out that this is not the project I want to work on. But once you decide, you cannot change. We cannot let you change a project after 2 or 3 weeks. Otherwise, everyone will try to do whatever. It's not possible. So next week, decide. So next week, I'm going to present the project. And by next week, we have to make a decision, form the team so that we can give you the parts. You can check out the parts, talk to Borna, and then start scheduling time for 3D printing so that you can 3D print parts or build parts or order bolts, nuts, or modify the CAD. I will provide you with a simple CAD drawing for the robot that you are welcome to modify or you are welcome to use as is. Once again, if you want to be adventurous, I don't mind, but make sure you have someone to help you out when you get stuck. Failure is not an option. If you are in, as a matter of fact, success in this class is super important for the future classes that you take at ASU. And as a matter of fact, for undergraduate students, you are taking this course and then you are going to take advanced courses. You have to take robotics 2. Robotics 2 depends heavily on the material that you master in robotics 1. So make sure I teach robotics 2 and robotics 1 is related to the robot arms, serial manipulators, dynamics, controls. Robotics 2 is about the aerial manipulators, UAVs. So what the information that you see in this class, coordinate systems, homogeneous transformation, language and dynamics, PID control, nonlinear control, state space, Kalman filter, all these things will be useful when we look at aerial robots. Yes.
Sir, you just said that suppose a person goes very conservative and uses all the parts as is, how much score will that person be giving?
So if you do whatever you are told, you will get 2 scores. So if you do more than what you are asked, that's fantastic. You will learn a lot of stuff. If you want to come up with your own ideas, do your stuff, that's fine. But in that case, the burden is on you. Because you'll be responsible for buying parts. So what if that part is not available? Before I assign the project, I will make sure that we have parts in stock ready to distribute. So I will make sure that procurement is done. Parts are there. Borna will make sure that you are given the parts that are functioning, working. If you buy something from Amazon, you get it, it's not working. What do you do? If you want to be you're responsible for that stuff, I have seen good, bad, and ugly. So I don't want you to take risk. Please don't be adventurous in the very first semester. Any other questions?
Are we going to learn cross anywhere or anytime?
There are 2 answers. What has actually I tell you, and this is a very good question. I get asked, are we going to use ROS? Are we going to learn ROS? So my answer to that question is, I'm not going to teach you ROS. Because then somebody would ask me that, are we going to use Gazebo? No, what I would tell you, write your program in MATLAB, use MATLAB to ROS converter, and then convert that program to ROS. If you really are interested in learning ROS, ROS stands for Robot Operating System. There are free courses on Coursera that you can do in your spare time to learn ROS. So if you want to learn ROS, I'm totally okay with it. There are ROS simulators that you can use. But if you want to claim that, hey, I know ROS, then my suggestion to you would be, let's do it in MATLAB, use MATLAB to ROS converter package. That way, all the tools that are available in MATLAB can be ported onto ROS. So think about writing some sort of FFT algorithm in ROS. So when I started studying robotics, the things are different now. So what is happening is you can write a MATLAB code, convert that, you can use the MATLAB compiler, convert that into C code, modify that C code, and then actually use it for your purpose. Or you can go a step further. You can write your code in MATLAB, use the MATLAB C compiler, convert it into C, then create a deployable hex file on the microcontroller and flash Arduino, Raspberry Pi, or microchip microcontrollers. And that way you have an embedded system that is ready to go. So it's totally up to you, whatever you want to do. But I will give you the tools and then you can build on it. And ROS is not difficult. I have had students who work on ROS. There are labs here, specifically the dynamics of Dr. Jan's lab, and he's going to come here and present his research. They do extensive work in ROS. Then we have professors at MP campus, Amit Marvi, Hongla Lee. They work in ROS, Spring Burman, and they will be, I have invited them to give you guys a talk. So if you want to learn ROS, so there is so much to learn. I mean, but what we need to do is I need to give you the fundamental understanding and tools that will allow you to build on to that knowledge and be successful. So I'm not going to teach ROS, but you are welcome to use MATLAB, create ROS code, and then interface that with an actual and actually ROS is not that difficult. And I have done ROS courses on Coursera. They are fantastic. So actually, I think Northwestern University is offering the robotics curriculum on Coursera. And the thing, if you don't know, Coursera, if you want to audit, it's free. If you just want to understand what's going on, University of Pennsylvania has the entire robotics concentration on Coursera. It's free in the sense that you can go to the class, learn from Dr. Vijay Kumar, and then aerial robotics from Vijay Kumar. But at the end of the day, you won't get the certificate. If you want the certificate, only then you have to pay. Alternatively, there is a Coursera Plus, wherein what you do is you pay a small monthly fee of 30 or 40 bucks, and you can take as many classes as you want and get as many certificates as you want, and fill up your LinkedIn page. Any questions?
So I've used ROS and Gazebo, and in ROS and Gazebo we can simulate the robot and everything, right? So
Yeah.
can we do that in MATLAB as well? Because I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. You already know ROS and Gazebo. I will show you how to do it in MATLAB. So you can say ROS, Gazebo, MATLAB, and then you can go to VREF as well. You know what VREF is? You should check that out. There is one gentleman who developed a software called VREF. It's beautiful, and it's something similar to Gazebo, but it's like more open source. Yeah.
Spell it out, VREP.
VREP. Copela by Copela Robotics. He started that as a PhD student, and then he converted that into a full-fledged software, free for academic use. Borna, do you want to add something?
The one recommendation, as someone who took this class, would be lectures are really helpful. He does really well with his lectures, so if you have any, then the problems are in previous lectures, as he said, so you can actually go back and see something similar and learn from them. So that's, and start on your printing your parts already. It's a lot of parts. Yeah.
It's an easy class, so you can get an easy A, right? That's what you mean?
Yeah.
Jasmine, do you want to add something? Just stand up so that everyone knows.
Yeah, to support some of very interesting and do a very good job. And so you'll learn the advance. Wow.
Okay, thank you. And I'm gonna start from very basic. you may be a robotics expert, but I'm going to start from the very basics because I just want to build the concept from fundamentals. Okay, so I have 15 minutes and I'm gonna start the actual lesson. No questions? Okay, welcome to Robotics 1. In this class, we are going to talk about kinematics, dynamics of the robots. Oh, somebody has sent a Discord link. Oh, good. Okay. So I'm going to start from the very basics. Okay. So believe it or not, I'm going to start with what is a vector. So vector has magnitude and direction. Now, the next thing is I want to talk about the coordinate systems. And why these coordinate systems are important is we are going to study three-dimensional dynamics and kinematics of robots. So we are going to see robots that are not linear, but they are spatial. They are in 3 dimensions. So we are going to have X, Y, and Z coordinates. So let's start with a very simple coordinate system. Whenever you see a robot problem, you have to first and foremost look at what that robot is consisting of. So basically, the robot will be consisting of 2 important things. One is the joint, and the second is the link. And the second thing that you should be looking at is where to place the coordinate system. And I cannot emphasize this less. If you have your coordinate systems placed correctly on correct joints, robot position kinematics problem, forward kinematics problem, inverse kinematics problem, forward dynamics and inverse dynamics problems, they become super easy. So make sure that you have a proper coordinate system set for the robot that we are looking into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something called a simple coordinate system, wherein this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and I'm going to talk about the unit vector in x direction and the unit vector in y direction. So what is a unit vector? The unit vector is magnitude of the vector, vector divided by the magnitude of the vector. So what I want to do is I just want to show you a simple idea. So if you travel 1 unit in x direction, this is 1i, 2 units in x direction, 2i, 3 units in x direction is 3i. Similarly, if you travel 1 unit in j direction, 2 units in j direction, 3 units in j direction, 4 units in j direction, so you have traveled 4j. Now what I want to do here is I want to indicate this point. This point is at location 3, 4. So I want to express this as a vector. So this is my origin. if I draw a straight line and if I show the arrow, this becomes the vector. And how do I write this vector? I would write this vector, please note, as OA with an arrow starting from O, ending at A is equal to 3I plus 4J. So unit vector I and unit vector J, they are telling me the direction. So first quantity tells me that travel 3 units in X direction, then turn around and travel 4 units in J direction. So if I want to find out the magnitude, this is given as square root of 3 square plus 4 square, which is 5. Now you can see that I have a choice. Rather than traveling from O to B, turning left and traveling from B to A, so I can travel like this. What I could do is I could just orient myself along the direction OA. So rather than traveling like this, I orient myself in that direction and travel on this line. So if I want to find out, this is important, the unit vector in the direction OA. So N is the unit vector in direction OA, that is given as N hat is equal to OA, which is the vector divided by the magnitude of vector. So this is going to be 3I plus 4J divided by 5. So now this becomes 3 by 5I plus 4 by 5J. Simple, right? Okay. Everyone understand this? What? Next part is super important, so pay attention. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to say 3 divided by 5 is nothing but, if you think about it, is distance AB divided by BA. So I'm going to write this so that it's very clear. So I'm going to say it's going to be AB divided by OA. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so actually, sorry. A. This is 3 by 5. So this is okay. OB, yeah. OB, correct. OB by OA, and I'm gonna have it C here plus 4 by 5 is going to be, so this is OC divided by OA. You agree with me? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write this angle, I'm gonna call theta x. And why do I call this theta x? The reason I call this theta x, because this vector OA is making angle theta with respect to x-axis. Do you agree with me? I'm gonna say this OB divided by OA is cosine theta x I plus. Now at this point, I just want to try the conventional wisdom and say something like this. OC divided by OA is sine theta x divided by G. I mean multiplied by G. Sine theta x divided by multiplied by g.
Barely see it.
Actually, I'm gonna replace that, but okay, I'll write this. Then I'll erase this because this is not the point. The point is coming next. Everyone agrees? Or I can say something similar to theta x. I would say this angle is theta y, and I can scratch this and write cosine theta y g. Now, what does it mean? At this point, this is called as the direction cosine. Cosine of the angle between the vector and the reference axis is the direction cosine. So I have cosine theta x is the direction cosine. Cosine theta y is the direction cosine g. So even though it is the same equation, but now I have written that equation in the form of direction cosine. Everybody understood this? Any questions here? Now, what would happen if I extend this to 3 dimensions? So now I want to talk about. So what would happen if I extend this in 3 dimensions? And say I have a vector. So I have a vector in 3 dimensions, and this is x, this is y, this is z. And at this point, I want to clarify the sign convention. For all the robotics problems, whenever we have a 3-dimensional coordinate system, and from next class onwards, we are going to just deal with 3-dimensional coordinate system. We are going to have a right hand thumb rule. So basically, if you want to assign which axis is x, which axis is y, which axis is z, you would use right hand thumb rule. And the reason for that is this is very simple, but you are going to have the coordinate frames attached and oriented in a very weird direction. So at that time, you will have to assign the coordinate system. So think about it. Thumb is your x. The first finger is y. And this is z. X, y, z. So whenever you have a coordinate system that is oriented in a weird fashion, always use the right hand coordinate system. The next thing that I want to talk about is the sign for angles. So if you want to assign whether a rotation is positive or negative, curl your fingers in the direction of rotation. So for an example, if you look at this rotation, curl your right hand fingers in the direction of rotation. Your thumb is pointing towards positive x-axis. So this is positive. Curl your fingers in the direction, say for example, if I give you a z rotation, and please remember that z rotation is super duper important. We are going to use this all the time. So if this is the rotation about z, curl your fingers in the direction of rotation. So as you can see, theta x is positive, theta z is positive, and then you are going to have theta y is positive. If your rotation is opposite to the rotations that I have shown, your angles are going to be negative. And I'm going to stop here today. So what's coming next? We are next class. I'm going to rotate this frame. So we will study the rotations about x, which means you have a frame and you have rotation about x, rotation about y, rotation about z, and then how we solve forward kinematics problem. So I'm going to stop here today.
and I will see you in next.